That's better. Hey, Joseph. Oh, Joseph. Uh, I'm glad you're here. I I'm gonna need some permission. Oh, wait a minute. Something else is off. Doggone it. Huh. Hang on a second. Perfect. Had to get my lighting right. Sorry about today's been one of those days. Okie doke. Joseph, that picture you had of the Schwartz 18, what's it called? The one with the double barrels and parallel double barrels. Gonna have to ask you something about that. Hey, John, how you doing? Uh, Val, hi Val, Hater. Hey, Hater, Clam, and Dominic. Good to see you guys. What's on the menu? You know what I thought that'd be sort of a good thing to do because sometimes we forget when we first were starting off. This morning we talked about what to avoid, and this afternoon I thought it'd be a good topic would be what we could have. In other words, you're talking to a beginner, somebody who's just starting off, and you'd say, "Here's a watch. I think you would be a good starting watch." Now, this, of course, is going to depend on, how much money they're planning to spend or can afford, and a few other things like that. But that's what I thought we'd start with is saying, okay, this is a good thing for you, and I can think of some other things that we can talk about later. But let me start off with this one. If you had to choose one watch, a brand and a model, both, and someone is just starting. They haven't bought any yet. They say, they've been looking at your collection and some other people's, and they say, "This looks like an interesting hobby. What would you suggest?" So let me put that to you. Hi, Tim. Hi, William. Good to see you guys. So, what would be one that you'd put up? I have one in mind, and I'm to tell you the truth, I'm surprised that that's the one I have, but I do. John Tissot, Small Seconds. Wow. That's a very good one. That would hit a lot of different that would hit a lot of different ones. If you're talking about the what's called, I guess it's called the Heritage Petite Seconde, with the ETA 6498-1. That would be a great recommendation. Hi, Javi, how you doing? Okay, what are some other ones? Joseph, dress watch, Salon Jeans, Heritage Conquest, sports watch, Hamilton Khaki Pilot. Good suggestions. Any others? Um, what are some would be some other ones that you might want to come up with? Uh hi what BH 142414. I'm just gonna call you BH for short. I went to the Nomos Club campus, not too expensive and a great movement based on the 7001 architecture. Yeah, that's the one they call the Alpha. Yeah, I that's that would be a good one too. Seiko Turtle or Dassault Visidate. Both good ones. Both good ones. Something about the turtle I like. Hey Rohit, how you doing? What we're talking about, we're considering watches that if someone were starting off, that one that you might recommend. Now we don't have to stay with the low end ones. We can go a lot of Chinese dress watch like your regulator. Hi, offline, online. Yeah, my, what's that called? It's called the perpetual regulator. You know, the good thing about that, that it was $200 for that. It's gone up since then, but here it's got everything. It's got automatic winding. It's got uh, a seagull movement that was designed specifically for the regulator, and so having those, 3 stems for hours, minutes, and then seconds down at 3 o'clock. That would be a fun one it is a fun one to have, and plus it has a Guy shape, plus it has the Grand Fou, the actual blued hands. Oh, I know I can't see it. I think I have on my reading glasses instead of my computer seeing glasses. Ah, much better. Um, Certina Big Date, okay. Hi, Orange Grove. Let's see. Jonathan, I'm trying to picture this Certina Big Date. I sort of know Certina, but a big date I can't quite picture yet, but sounds good. Navy Pioneer, William. Let me see. Rohit. I'd recommend a Tissot PowerMate 80 or an entry level Longines. Um, Longines Big Eye for the chronograph newbie. Yeah, that's a good one. That I think is a very nice one. Orient Cano, best of the best value in the watch business. An Orient Cano, okay. Hey, Canadian, how you doing? Um, what we're talking about for those just joining us, we're coming up with one watch that we would suggest to a newbie. Um, all of the ones look like good ones. They're fairly economical. I would probably go with a Nomos with a DUW movement of some sort. Uh, the that would be I think would be a good starting point. In fact, the one I'm trying to think, I don't know. It depends on the one that new one that they had at the Horological Society of New York. That movement and this really thin movement, the reason I would do that, I think that it's important to get started with attention to the movement. That's why it's the same reason. It doesn't have to be uh, an in-house movement. It just has to be a good movement in some way or something interesting. Let's see what else you guys have. Hi, Val. Um, see, Chili Badger. Any Seiko diver? Okay. Any Hamilton Jazz Master? I love the Jazz Master. I don't know what it is about the Jazz Master. They have a lot of watches that I just really like. Um, Orange Grove, Hamilton Khaki Mechanical. Okay. All right. I tell you, another one I wouldn't mind recommending at all is an interesting watch that's not going to cost you very much. In fact, it's one of my least expensive watches. Is this little Seiko 5? Because the Seiko 5 has 5 features that were new when it first came out in 1963, and I think there's value to that because you say, well, what's so good about the Seiko 5? First of all, they're still making that same model. They've improved it in some ways, but if you want one of the originals, you can get one. Hey, traveling nomad, the land of absolute vodka, Oris Aquis, because everyone must have a diver. Yeah. I was had a little chat with someone who identified herself as snorkel something, snorkel snoggle or something funny like that. It was turned out to be a woman who loves snorkeling, and she talked about what you take snorkeling. I wouldn't take. I don't think there's a single watch in my collection, except maybe the Seiko 5 because it has a fabric strap that I take into salt water. If you go down to a diver shop, you're not gonna see any kind of the watches we collect. They're all gonna be quartz, maybe smart watches, you know, that will keep you nice and safe while you're under. Um, Splurging, a big date chronograph. Okay, a Steinhardt. You know, the thing about a Steinhardt, Forbin, I like Steinhardt because you know what you're getting. I mean, if you go in, you buy a Steinhardt and it's got, I don't know, whatever movement that they have now. I think they've gone from ETAs to Solida, but whatever they are, they tell you what they are. On the other hand, you might buy a Breitling and it may have a surprise for you in there. A Tudor Black Bay 58 could be a great starter. Yeah, that I that would be a very good one. I like that one too. Rahto got me in this game. Really? I had um I had a Rahto for years. And let me see, what was that I got? No, I got a Raymond Weil was my first more recent one. Years and years ago, I had a Bulova Accutron. I thought that was great. Um, John, let's see, a Chinese mechanical chronograph. Okay. Black Bay is way too expensive. I can get a secondhand Omega Seamaster for that price. Okay. No, 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 we're not, let's not argue about it. Let's just hear some different kinds of things. Uh, High Syneste. Would a Sin 104 be too much for a beginner? Hamilton, you know, in a way, when I was beginning, I got, I mean, really focused on collection. I got a Patek Philippe, so I mean, we could, it was only $4,500. And when I say only, that's relative to the general what they go for, Patek Philippe's go for. But like I said, yeah, some entry level. If somebody's really loaded, I'm not gonna, I'll and has money that they can appreciate. I'd suggest something that would be, I tell you, unfortunately, their prices went through the moon, but the FP Journe Chronomat Surveying, one of my favorite watches. I mean, as a watch, um, just it has a lot of features to it that I like. Feels good too. Um, Hey, Joseph, how you doing, man? Omega Speedmaster reduced. Okay. Uh, yeah, Seiko. Seiko has so many good watches. The problem with Seiko watches is that they're not problematic enough. I think they actually made them for people who care more about time than some gizmo. But yeah, it's a good one. Um, Loving BB and BB 58, must say, a little too costly, for a newbie, though. Now, there are different kinds of newbies, I guess, so okay, Sin 104 then started this bad hobby. Yeah, that's right. Hi, Tuna, how you doing? Let's see, don't sell an entry-level watch that you really like just for the sake of upgrading it. Yeah. Harry Law, Zodiac Super Seawolf. What a great suggestion. The Zodiacs are good watches, and you can usually get them at a pretty good price because they're not that popular. Um, it's a great one. Another one along the same lines would be what are the ones? A Volcane. A Volcane, I think would be a cool watch to have. And it's sort of like every year I wonder whether they're still in business or somebody bought them or helping them out. And they seem to be getting by, and also they have their own movements. Um, so yeah, Zodiac Super Seawolf, that'd be a cool one to have. Glycine, yeah, those are nice. Those are good sports watches, banging around in one. Seiko's problem: the average small shopper cannot tell the difference between what is cheap and supposed to be expensive. That's true. And Eterna, yeah, Eterna's got some good ones. Joseph, let's see. Khaki Pilot, I am referred to its Pioneer model, a reproduction of a vintage pilot watch with a tonneau-shaped case. Heritage Conquest is also a modern remake of vintage watches. All right. Sounds I was, uh, after Joseph put up a really good shot of the movement of a Schwartz 18 of a dual barrel in parallel. And he sort of the caption was the how rare the dual barrel parallel is. And I agree. And there were some people who says, no, no, they're not rare at all. Back in 1960, they had them, and I thought, well, what? They may have had them. Brigade was making watches a long time ago too, but I didn't know that some fairly standard ones were in parallel dual dual barrels in parallel. One of my favorite types of constant force. I really like it. I like the concept behind it. Ball watch for a beginner. Yeah. Yeah, Ball has got the ones I like by Ball, Jason, are the railroad ones they have. They have some very cool ones. BH, speaking of Zodiac, the Olympus is pretty cool if you want a non-traditionally shaped watch. Yeah, that's something else too. I think what came to mind was nothing but newer watches, and all of them were round. But Maurice Lacroix. This is my little Maurice Lacroix in uh, a rectangular shape, but it's got a 736 movement, which was sort of from the early 2000s, that whole era before Jacquet had to go go up the river, so to speak. Chili Badger, Seiko. Yeah, yeah, the Ocean Diver is a great option. The one I like for Seiko is the Alpina, the green one. I always like that, and I like the turtle. But the only the only Seiko I have is their 5, and I love that one. A good watch is pretentious watchmaker. You bet. We have the best. By the way, too, I got. Speaking of which, for some reason, here's one by pretentious watchmakers. This one is it has it has a cathedral hands, it has brigade numbers, everything you'd want. It probably set me back maybe $110 or so. That would be a good one. But I tell you, the one I'm working on now, I think I've been working on it for a long time. Mainly because it has an ETA 2892A2, and I have to been having a hard time getting the movement squared away with both a case and a dial for it. So yeah, that can happen. By the way, too, as I'm winding this up, notice it has, at least for New York, it has a correct time on it, and this is a 6498 wannabe, I believe, is what this. No, it's a 6497. The difference is that the subdial is at 9 o'clock on the 6497. But this watch is, my grandkids have been bugging me. My kids don't care for regular watches, but the grandkids, you're going to make us a watch. So give one of the grandkids one of these things. This thing with their activity, it'll last maybe 15, 20 minutes before they have to take it back to the watchmaker. So that isn't a bad idea. Um, Oris Diver. Yeah, those are good ones. Um, Mark, recommending FP Journe CS for the beginners. I agree. That's a great one. I mean, if a beginner's got a lot of dough, the thing about a FP Journe chronometre Souverain, first of all, they're hand wound. They're 3 hertz. All the things I like. They're let's see. Oh yeah, and they have the double barrel in parallel. Those are 3 great things to have. Now, Unfortunately, if well, fortunately, if you already have one, you're in good shape. If you don't, the price has gone sort of nuts and a waiting list. They've already sold out. They back when I think it was back in November when I visited the FP Jorn boutique in New York. The, uh, the guy who's the manager of the store told me, he said, "Sorry, we're all out for 2022." So anyway, Mark has a good story with his. So you got the best of both worlds. Can never go wrong with a Seiko diver Seagull 1963. You know, the Seagull 1963, the Chinese Army watch, something like that. Those are great. Those are cool watches for a collection because they have a neat story that goes with them. Um, hey, Eamon, I just bought my first mechanical last week, a Seiko 5. Cool to hear you agree. Great. Now, the what you need to do, Ian, is with a Seiko 5, you have to learn what the 5 new things were in 1963 that the Seiko 5 was the first one to do it. Um, I got my Seiko 5 in my winder, and I can put that thing in there for months and pull it out. The time is right, the date is right, everything about it's right. There's another thing about that. I'm not much of a day date person, but on the Seiko 5, setting the day date is so easy and so ingenious. Love that watch. It's a good starter. Hey, Orient is a good one for beginners. Yeah, Orient is too. I think you can never go wrong with Seiko Diver Seagull. Yep, those are good ones. The Traveling Nomad, in my opinion, CS is reasonably priced for what it offers. I don't think Mark FP Jordan reasonably priced don't go together, but they are great watches. I mean, they're virtually handmade. Hi, Tuna. Do the Seiko Shuffle. Okay. Let me, as long as you're talking about, quote, reasonably priced watches, I really like the Christopher Wards. Christopher Ward's got a lot of really nice watches. Um, the ones that have like a Salida or an ETA movement, they tell you. So you know what you're getting. Otherwise, if you get an SH 21 movement, you're getting one of their in-house movements, and those things are under, I think they're under 3,000. So you can find some good ones there too. Seiko Presas, that's a good one. Yeah. If you are a millionaire, uh, eh, maybe. You don't have to be a millionaire, but there was I don't know if any of you've seen this. There's oh, what's it called? I guess a series on, and I think it's on the Amazon. I, yeah, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's a series called Flack, and it's about a PR company, and they have to deal with all of these different people who get in trouble, and so they have to guard their public image. And one of them was this billionaire, and one of the characters took a look at the guy's watch and sniffed and said, "Yep, you know, FP Jordan." And it was so funny because it was sort of like almost a stereotype of billionaires. So your remark about millionaires is off by about 999 million. You use a winder maybe for another video, but how do you store your watches? Well, I don't have very many automatics. I don't care for automatics. That's me. It's nothing, you know, for a practical watch, I suppose an automatic is better than a wind up. But if you have a nice watch, I like to, handle them and wind them up and play with them. I have on my Urban Jurgensen right now, and I wound this one up fully yesterday, and it's got a good 2-day charge on it. And so I'm wearing it today, and it's just fun to wear. The unusual Weiss field watch with a 60. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The Weiss, the is I probably pronounce it Weiss, uh, field watch. That is one. Neff, just finished hand polishing the case of my Vario Empire. Always bugged me that it was brushed out on the sides. Um, Even did bevels on top of the lugs. Came out great. I was reading about, I think it was after I saw Joseph's, the back of the Schwartz 18 with a, what was it called? I think eh, MSE 110. What they did is that the movement that they had, the base movement, has these two spots form. One is you can either have one barrel and a micro rotor, or two barrels, and the two barrels are set in parallel. So I was really looking at that, and for the most part, they were out of what I can spend in the next 10 years, but it's very interesting stuff they have. And they were talking about hand beveling and some of the other things that they have. I think they call it, was it not, wasn't they didn't refer to it as beveling. They didn't refer to it as on laws. It was something else, but it was really well done. Hi, Crappy. I'd recommend any automatic watch she likes, but under no circumstances buy a Squally. What's wrong with Squallies? I don't have one. I don't know much about them. But I'm scared of curious. Five collectors watch has to be a Timex Marlin. Okay. Um, I used to love. I mean, when I was much younger, um, shortly after the Earth had just cooled. It was a long time ago. I used to buy Timexes all the time. That's all I had was Timexes, and what I'd do is, to me, this is my perception. This is pre-quartz. My Timexes would run perfectly and then drop dead, and didn't even try to revive them. You just got another one. So I went through a series of Timex watches, perfect time until they quit, and when they quit, they stayed quit. AS, not hey Joseph, it's not the ASC, it's the MSC. The ASC is the automatic, and the MSC is the mechanical. That's the hand wound. The ASC has the combination of the micro rotor and the barrel. See, I read your article. I followed up on that. Why not Squally? Yeah, that was my question too. Maybe Adriatica watches. It's one I don't know. Suggests that a first watch should include an exhibition case back. I would agree. That's a good point. Because I think, to me, if you don't get to look at the movement, you know, I'm trying to think. This is, in fact, this is all my entire collection of these watches is based on the movement. I'm going to try to get them out of here. You can see that. This is the Jacquet 736. And I have four watches by four different manufacturers, all with that same movement. So I collect the movement is and the watches. For some reason, these are the ones that sit right here, and I wind them up pretty regularly, just to have them. But that's another thing. This one is a oh, what are they? A La Croix. Um, and the other one is a Droz, and the other one is a Philippe Dubois. And then I have another one my wife has, a Dunhill, but that's another collection thing, and they're relatively inexpensive. So that's another good point to Maurice Lacroix is one that actually has extremely good watches, but only been recently when they've been uh, when they produce their own movements. But the thing of it is that before they did that, while they were using ETA movements, they really had excellent watches. And this one is one that has been very good until it gets magnetized, and then I have to put it through the demagnetizer. Okay, let's see. I'd recommend Orient Kamasu. Okay. Um, Forgot to tell you about Jacquet. They are now making La Joux Pereire movements in La Chute Fort. Well, um, La Joux Pereire movements were made there for it used to be Jacquet SA. That was the name of the company. He had to go to prison, so they said, "Well, we don't want to be associated with old Jean Pierre anymore." So they changed the name, and they're still doing it. Let's see. Hey, Jean Claude, how you doing? Doxa, Ja or Ya Doxa. I love Doxas. A little orange Doxa. I'd love to have one. Hey, Martin. Omega Seamaster Aquaterra annual calendar can be had for half price new right now. All right. You could learn about George Daniels' coaxial escapement, constant force, and they have dual barrels. That's interesting. That is an interesting watch. Martin, the only thing that puts me off about Omega now, and probably, all of Patek Philippe and probably most of Swatch watches, is that they've been putting in silicon hairsprings. Silicon escapements, that's okay, but hairsprings, I don't know. I just doesn't isn't something that ain't right. Alexis, let me see. Perhaps another recommendation for first watch is any manual winding. Good point. I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It has a binding to your watch, getting up and winding it. I'll tell you, I don't know if any of you have Vacheron Constantins with a 4400 movement in it, but those things take all day to wind. And so I decided to sort of like, to have a luncheon date with my watch. I'll sit and wind it. Uh, oh, wait, where is Rancher? Rancher's out on the ranch. Dornbluth and Son. Yeah. Dornbluth and Son, uh, they at one time they were sort of like fudging on ETAs, I thought. But now they've got their very own movement that's very special. I'm not surprised they have a year waiting list. I am very glad to hear it because they're pretty cool guys. Hey, Jason. So that's what I think about it. Um, yeah, John, you're right. La Joux Para was acquired by Citizen. They used, I think, yeah. Okay, Yachi Luxury, um, JCB. Okay. Good question about Rolex. Transparent case backs do impact the durability, magnetic resistance, and water resistance. Yeah, I'm sure they do. They got the next time I want to swim across the English Channel with a watch around my neck, I'll get a Rolex. Hey, Pat, how you doing? I agree on the introduction of silicon. With that new material, why not go quartz? I agree, Pat. I mean, that was the whole purpose of high horology and all of this other stuff that, to save the watch industry is, let's go back to the traditional methods and materials. Okay, guys, Maurice Lacroix, I agree. That's another good one. Silicon was available to Abraham Louis Breguet, he would have used it. He would have used quartz too, and he wouldn't have existed if smartwatches were around then. So, what are you going to do, Raj? Okay, guys, listen, thank you all. I only screwed up a little today, so I'm pretty happy. And that was at the beginning. So, anyway, everyone take care and have a great week. Invicta, that's a that's a discussion. We'll see you guys.